But interestingly, these guys are running around at the moment in a little bit of a pack, so I'm wondering if they're trying to pick up a cheeky little slipstream here and there, as we've seen Thorn, I think it is, there just running wide onto the gravel. But yeah, if you can't use push to pass, but there's nothing to say that you can't get a slipstream, and there's certainly lots of opportunities around here to get that slipstream.
Exactly, it's another thing to be mindful of. Yeah, it's placement of the car in qualifying. There's only a minute left, so people are only going to have potentially a lap, and that is it. So yeah, placement of the car in qualifying and trying to get that draft is going to be essential. At the moment, though, Jack McIntyre is still currently on pole with a 1:55 dead. So at the moment, unless people start putting in some really, really quick lap times towards the end of this session, I think the predictions of sort of a mid to low 54 are out of the question.
Yeah, it's looking that way, but I mean, again, last week we saw, the pole position was set with the first flying lap, and that was it, job done. The driver didn't improve on that throughout the qualifying session. Forgive me, I'm struggling to remember who that was, but I know that was the fact that the pole lap was set within the first flying lap. So yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe he's done enough, and maybe there just isn't the grip out there to do that mid 54 like there was in practice. But at the end of the day, if that's good enough, it's good enough. It's pole position.
Well, exactly. Pole position is pole position. I'm sure Jack is not going to grumble, considering that was pretty much the first lap time that was posted on the board. As we've got Hayden currently on your screen in 15 at the moment. Hasn't been too lucky by the looks of putting a lap in. Although this one doesn't look too bad. We've got Smith, who's currently finished. He is not going to get another lap in, as well as Hayden on your screen. He is not going to get another lap in. He goes P13, a 156.5. We've got Stansfield with a 155.2. So this thing, only 1.5 seconds is the top 13. So this is still really anyone's race from probably the top 10, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen that they like to rub doors. It's typical touring car racing, so albeit McIntyre's potentially looking at pole position at the moment. The first lap is going to be fraught with a little bit of door rubbing, I would imagine, here and there, and a little pushing and barging into the corners just to try and settle down into some sort of running order. So yeah, we could very much see the likes of Marshall in fifth, who we know usually starts pretty well, getting up into certainly the top 2 or 3 within the first few corners, because that he is a hard charger from the off.
Exactly. Well, at the moment, we've got Nola currently on your screen. It looks like, I'm just looking at the timing in the bottom right-hand corner. I don't think this lap is actually going to be one that's going to be set, as he goes very, very wide, jumping over that sausage curb, upset the car a little bit. We had what you were speaking about, Steve. The car sort of jumped at the front, unsettled it, and yes, he has indeed backed out of that lap. So I'm pretty sure Nola is not going to improve. We've got Stapleford, I can't believe that, 3 thousandths behind Jack McIntyre. That's absolutely, this is going to be so close. We're just switching over to Dave Marshall, looking at the sector times. Unfortunately, doesn't look like there's going to be any improvement unless he pulls out 6 or 7 tenths out of the last sector, which as much as he is a very, very good driver, I somehow doubt the 7 tenths are going to be found in the last sector, and he has just pulling it into the pits along with everyone else. So at the moment then, Jack McIntyre with a surprising pole position, only though by 3 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, for me, the surprising thing there is the fact that he hasn't broken into the 54s. He certainly is the man with the pace to do that, but he's quick enough. There, we see it on screen now. McIntyre in pole position with a 155, pretty much like you said, dead. Stapleford second, Nola third, Neil fourth, Marshall fifth, Stansfield sixth, Edmondson 7th, Smith 8th, Brennan 9th, and Butler rounding out the top 10. Thorne in 11th, Mellors 12th, Hayden 13th, O'Farrell 14th, and Sutton 15th, with Lamy 16th and Press 17th. All sort of, like you say, the top 13, I think it was roughly about 1.5 second gap. So it doesn't get a lot closer, and certainly that 3 thousandth of a second from first to second, that's as close as you pretty much can get it.
I think pretty much so, yeah. I think any closer than that, they may as well start dead next to each other. This is going to be, actually, to be fair, I was thinking about it, so I'm rattling this off in my head. I reckon that Stansfield, whoever, the sort of P2 and P3, I feel that they may try and sit behind Jack, and they may try and see how the toe is really going to affect them, because they might be, this could have a slightly bigger effect than we saw at Barcelona, where tactics is going to play slightly more into people's hands. They're going to try and wait for that move and try and wait for the pass to happen. Whereas somewhere like Catalunya, you can make the move past into turn 1, and then there's not really many long straights that you can really sort of gain an advantage until you come around to lap until you come around to the main straight again. Here, however, you've got probably maybe two, or maybe even three straights. The straights are so long that I reckon people are going to start to sit behind each other and try and play the toe to their advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking ahead towards the end of the race, and if you're battling for a position towards the end of the race, you're going to look at trying to get the move done really at the Rivazza corner, just before the last two corners of the lap, because you can get into the braking zone there and throw it around those two last corners. Because I don't think if you in the slipstream coming out of the last corner, I'm not sure you're going to have enough room before the start-finish line to actually get past anybody again with the slipstream. So I think you're going to have to get the move done a couple of corners before that last one.
Very, very true. Also, to be fair, I am forgetting they have push to passes. Every driver starts with the same amount of push to passes. You can use them as and when you see fit. So that's obviously going to have to that's going to play a part into it as well. The same as it did for Barcelona. I think we saw a couple of people, I'm trying to wrap the people off in my head. I think Jack was quite conservative with his push to passes, as well as Dave Marshall. I think so. It'd be interesting to see how the push to passes are managed for this race as well. So yeah, it's completely open. And I think until we finish the first race, at the moment, I'm lost at how it's really going to play out.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I had to put my neck on the line, I would say McIntyre. Incidents to one side, just on pace. You've got to say McIntyre's favourite to take the win based on his practice pace. But I wouldn't rule out Marshall, Nola, even Edmondson, Isaac Smith. Let's not forget him. He had showed great pace last week. Like you say, there's so many there, but those guys, they're all going to be up there. They're all going to be battling. And I say incidents to one side. There's definitely going to be a little bit of door rubbing that's going to decide a few positions, I think.
Well, exactly. Yeah, much similar as we have said before. This is touring car racing. This is what touring cars. This is part and parcel of touring cars. As we are all on the grid, ready for race 1 of the TT Cup, round 4 here at Imola. Lights are. Everyone's sitting on the grid, just waiting there, building up the. Oh, I'd say we've just been told by race car we have just got a minute left, so we're going to go back to a nice picturesque view of Imola there. So, Steve, before we get ahead, anything else you sort of want to put? Anything else you want to, maybe even sort of like, what are your thoughts? What's your real sort of gut feeling that's going to happen for the first race? Well,
just going a step back from that, we obviously saw the cars lining up on the grid there, and just to mention to everybody, these Audis have got what you call a DSG gearbox in, so there's no clutch on them. So basically the drivers sit there on the line, they will hold the revs at where they think is the best revs, and then when the lights go green, that's when they bang it into the gear. That's the control they've got. Literally, they click it into gear. There's no clutch to play with, there's no bite point, and they've got to get those revs just right. A few of the drivers have got different opinions as to where those revs are, because obviously you don't want loads of wheel spin, you don't want the car to bog down, so there's a definite technique to getting those cars off the line. So that, as we've seen in the previous rounds, as I said, Dave Marshall is always a very quick starter, and he always seems to manage to make an overtake before the first corner, so there's people like him to watch. But yeah, I mean, the way it's going to play out, like I say, I'm sticking with McIntyre as my favourite for the race, I think, to take the win if he can keep it clean. Again, in previous rounds, we've seen quite often the guy who gets away into the first corner can quite often pull a little bit of a gap on the rest of the field as they battle it out. So it'll be interesting to see if Jack McIntyre can do that, because if he does, he's definitely got the pace to run away with it.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to find out as the revs build up, the lights are starting to come on. You can see the split screen. We're riding on board with one of the drivers. Can't tell who that is at the moment, but red lights are coming on. Everyone's building up the revs. You can see the little dash on the right-hand side. Here we go for race 1 of the VRRC TT Cup. It seems to be, again, a relatively even start. The front half of the field, everyone's going to be trying to gain track position, going down into the first corner. What you want to do, you see everyone's darting to the left now. They want to try and cover that inside line to make sure no one tries to make a move or trying to do a bit of a late lunge, a bit of a cheeky little lunge there. But everything, again, looks to be okay at the moment. Doesn't seem to be some argy-bargy. As I say that, though, the number 5 car, unfortunately, that was Marshall, I think, actually currently in the bottom right-hand corner screen. So we were on board with Marshall. Sorry, that was my apologies, getting confused there with numbers. So we've got, that was Rich Hayden, I believe, in the top left screen that you see there, but still on board with Dave Marshall in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We've got Dave now currently sitting on the screen now in the blue and white car. Seems to be a pretty even start at the front there, as we see we've got a move up the inside there. That was, I believe, Smith making the move on Marshall. A couple of people running wide down into the to a double left-hander right at the bottom of the circuit. Again, seems to be really, at the moment, okay. However, we have seen, though, and I've just looked at the timings, that Stapleford is now running away with it. He's already 6/10 ahead of Nola. Jack McIntyre has dropped down 2 positions. He's currently running in 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've upset Dave Marshall there, saying that he makes up positions every time, and he's dropped now down to 9th place. So an uncharacteristically bad start for Dave Marshall in that race. Stapleford taking the early opportunity to get ahead, and as you say, he's pulling a little bit of a gap now as McIntyre and Nola are having a little bit of a battle for 2nd place, with Neil in very close attention. So we've got 3 cars running within a couple of tenths of each other there, all looking to try and put a move on each other, and it'd be interesting to see where they try and do that, because we're also looking back at Edmondson in the background as well, coming under attack now.
Exactly, yeah. So this is the pretty big bad. As we see, that was a very, very late lunge there. I'm just trying to see who that was. It was the green and yellow car, green and white car there. Trying to think who that was. I can't quite see the number, but we've got Stapleford still in the lead. He's pulled a second out of Nola in the first lap. 30 minutes to go plus an extra lap. Still riding currently on your screen, on the main screen now, is Neil. He's 5/10 behind McIntyre. So not too sure what is going to happen here, but McIntyre is going to try and go round the inside into the first. He's very, very late on the brakes. Seems to have got the move done. However, is Nola going to try and make that cutback? He doesn't seem to do it. This could be potentially Nola just letting him by at this point, trying to see if he can actually, and if McIntyre can pull Nola along so they can both catch up to Stapleford. So in terms of a strategy point of view, Nola may be letting Jack try and pull away and almost catch up to Stapleford, and hopefully what they're going to do is slow each other down so that Nola can then catch up to the pair of them. As we're just on board with Stansfield at the moment, just trying to get that car turned in. A little bit of contact, look at that slight, ever so a bit more contact there as well. So it's Stanfield and Neil. This is actually, to be fair, this is going to be an interesting battle. They may go side by side going into the really, really fast left-hander towards the middle of the track. It seems that Stansfield got the move done, so he's now moved up into P4. There's a lot of action going on here. It's pretty much similar to Barcelona.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to that McIntyre move on the brakes, that was an absolutely awesome demonstration of how to brake late. As we just seen Neil getting attacked by Smith, and both running very, very wide there. Smith was forced Neil wide, to be fair, but Smith's got that job done, and he's going to protect that position into the chicane now, as they were side by side, but he's got that move completed and got the position. But everybody is in such close attention at the moment. You've just not got enough eyes to watch all the battles as it is.
Exactly, that's the problem. You need eyes in the back of your head to try and watch all the action that's going on. So we're going based off of what we're seeing on the live timings, and obviously what we're seeing on the screen as well. Still currently on your main screen is Neil. We've got ahead, looking at the top right-hand corner of your screen. This is pretty much exactly what I thought that Nola was going to be trying to do. He's let Jack go. He's let the move happen. He's not fought the move too much going into the hairpin. And as you say, that was a cracking setup for Jack there. But I think what's going to happen is Jack's going to try and catch up. Well, he's already caught up to the back of Stapleford. Going to try and do a carbon copy of what he did to Nola. Has a bit of a look. Almost tries to make that move. It was a bit of a 50-50 move there. I don't think he was quite sure if he wanted to make that move stick or not. This is exactly what Nola wants. This is playing really, really well into Jack's hands here, because he's allowing McIntyre and Stapleford to pull themselves closer together, so they're going to fight more. Ultimately, as what we can see again in the top rank on the screen, is Jack makes an absolutely insane lunge going into the bottom double left-hander. That was an insane move. Fair play to Jack there as he takes the lead.
That was absolutely committed. He knew what he was going to do there, and Nola, they just didn't expect it at all. Stapleford didn't expect that at all. He wasn't even defending it. He didn't look to cover it. He thought he was doing the right thing, and McIntyre gave him a lesson in how to brake late. And got that job done, and look, now he's just pulling away. He's easing away already, with Nola on the back of Stapleford now.
Exactly, that was textbook last of the late breakers for Jack McIntyre then. Absolutely, what an incredible move, and I feel that's given him a massive amount of confidence. We now just see on your screen now Nola trying to make a move. He's got the move done, running quite wide, actually going into, to be fair, I think this has also played into Nola's hands a little bit more. He probably would have liked Jack to have battled with Stapleford a little bit longer, because at the moment, as we can see, Jack is currently running away with it. Stapleford has got back on Nola. I think he's going to be sitting behind him, maybe to try and make a move into turn one. Bear in mind as well, they've got the push to passes that they can use as well. On the main screen, you've currently got Butler in P9, 3/10 behind Brennan, and Edmondson only a second up the road from there. So again, this is so close. We've got Dave now, who's currently actually dropped into 10th place. We've got Dave Marshall that's going to potentially look to make a move. He's already pulling over to the left-hand side, doesn't quite find a gap there. He's going to get back in the tow. He's probably going to try and make that move again, providing that Butler doesn't cover the inside, which, by the looking at it, he is going to for all of his life. That TT is going to be so wide, it's going to be incredible. As you see, he takes the defensive line, placing his car exactly where it needs to be. Dave can't quite find a way around yet. Almost trying to go around the outside there, trying to find any way possible through. On the grass, actually, they're going to go side by side going to left-hander. That was a bit of rally driving there from Dave Marshall as well. He is driving the absolute wheels off of this car and still can't find a way through.
No, and absolutely. While you've been obviously commentating on that section of the race, Nola and Stapleford have swapped positions again in second and third. Nola's got back through and back into second after losing that position temporarily to Stapleford. But all in all, Jack McIntyre is now 1.5 seconds up the road, so he's pulled away as we've seen Butler and going for it now down the inside. Certainly's got that move done, I believe.
I think that was, again, there's some really close racing, but at the same time there's some really good racing as well. We just see Butler go ever so slightly wide. Rear end started to rotate on them there. I'm guessing what happened, obviously, as he was on the brakes, rear end starts to get a little bit light as the weight transfer shifts all the way over to the front. And obviously that then started to send the rear out. That's going to hurt him a little bit. However, he seems to have got the position made, again going very wide, all using the track limits that they do have available. At the end of the day, if you don't get penalised for it, you may as well use them. It is all fair game. We've got Brennan currently fighting with Dave now, as Dave is going to try and go around the outside. Last late breakers again, although that looked very late from Brennan there. As we see, Smith has lost a couple of positions. Not entirely sure what happened to him. Could have been a little bit of a, could have gone potentially wide, but yeah, he's lost a few positions. So Edmondson has moved back up to, or has moved up to 6th place, with Stansfield only a 10th or so behind him. As we see, Edmondson is using the push to pass. Smith, they're all using the push to passes, actually, to be fair. One thing to note, though, as we've said it before at Barcelona, as actually I'm going to interrupt myself there, is we've got Emerson going up the inside of Stansfield. So he now takes P5, and he's going to try and now hunt down Neil, who's currently sitting in P4, about 6/10 up the road.
Yeah, and all the time this is going on as well, Nola in second place is closing that gap down to McIntyre on the previous lap. It was up to 1.5 seconds. It's now down to 9/10 with Stapleford 6/10 further back from Nola, and Neil in 4th place is just under 4 seconds behind. So the top 3 have broken away, but it's not all over up at the front now, as we see Marshall in 9th, who's making a bit of recovery because he had dropped down to about 11th. So he's coming back through the field. He's just got past Brennan and he's trying to chase down Butler. And we've seen many times in the past, Marshall, he knows how to chase people down, he knows how to apply pressure, and he certainly knows how to overtake, because he's just having to defend from Brennan a little bit now, and he's using all of the track, a little bit more, a little bit of the AstroSurf at the side, but he's definitely defending hard, and he's maintaining that position from Brennan, who's pushing equally as hard.
Yeah, very much so. David's just placed this guy exactly where it needs to be, although I think this maximum ballast is hurting him. I didn't know it would actually hurt him this much, but we'll interesting to see and sort of have a chat with him potentially during one of the interviews to really see as he just dives over those curbs, trying to maximise the line that he can through. Still got to be careful though that the car doesn't jump up and unsettle the front. You start understeering wide into the barrier. That's what you don't want. But at the moment, it seems that Marshall has got that move stuck and he's got the move made. Although Brendan going to try and come around the outside. He's darting to the outside. He's going to dart to the inside. He's not. Again, a little bit of a defensive line there by Dave. Again, just placing the car exactly where it needs to be. Now, interesting to see here. They both seem to get a pretty good exit as Dave runs ever so slightly wide on the grass. Not too sure if that's going to make an effect. I think it may very well do. This is where the 30 kilos of ballast is really going to hurt Dave. And you can see Brennan is already driving. It's already alongside, and he's already made the move. He's already passed Marshall. He's going to pass Marshall going down to turn 1. So, yeah, the 30 kilos of ballast is really hurting Dave, more so than I thought, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in previous rounds they've been able to work with it, and he's had some good performances with that 30 kilos of ballast on. Maybe, as you said at the top of the show with Imola, it's hurting them a bit more with these longer straights with the faster track, and it's just slowing them down at the top end, as we see in Edmondson in 5th there, back on board now with Nola in 2nd, who's still 1 second behind Jack McIntyre, but that's close enough that he can see him, and it's, you know, it's dangling the carrot. As we've seen 2 cars off, that looks like Stansfield and 23, that's Smith. So Isaac Smith, yeah, we expected to have a reasonable race, has found himself in the gravel, which is really unfortunate with Stansfield, who was having a pretty good race, it has to be said. But that, yeah, it's put Marshall up to 8th place now, with Brennan's got back past Marshall into 7th.
Exactly. So that's good for some drivers, bad for others. Shame about that incident there. Unfortunately, we only caught the tail end of that incident, so not entirely sure what happened. As we've got Hayden currently on your screen going very, very deep and trying to go deep he manages to make the move stick on O'Farrell. I think O'Farrell went ever so slightly wide. He probably wasn't expecting Hayden to actually make that move where he did. It's a very, very tricky, complex of corners. You're braking, turning, trying to manage the brakes, trying to manage the way that the car's going to rotate, especially with front-wheel drive, front-engine cars. That rear can go really, really light. So that's a really, really tricky, complex of corners that you've got to watch out for. But at the moment, Hayden has made the move and he's currently up to P9. He's already pulling away. So he's in the top 10. So a good show from him at the moment. We've got Marshall, as you say, Steve, in 8, capitalising on the incident earlier on last lap. We've got Brennan that we've just seen on the Delta moving up to P6. So it's there's action still about everywhere, isn't there?
I tell you what, but Dan, it's going on all over the place, because on the previous lap, McIntyre had the fastest lap with a 54.5. Then the last time through the start-finish, Nola went 54.3, and now Brennan has done a 54.37 as well, so he's gone 2/100ths faster than Nola. But importantly, at the moment, Nola is lapping slightly faster than McIntyre, and we can see that gap has come down to 0.8 now. So he's charging hard for McIntyre. The race isn't over yet for him, as we're looking at Edmondson trying to attack Neil at the moment.
Exactly. Nola is still got him in his sights, and we're just riding on board now with Edmondson. He's going to try and utilise as much of the car as he can. Also, Neil is going to try and make that TT as wide as he possibly can, although he's not really defended that corner that much. A little bit of contact, that was probably going to be inevitable there, as we see Neil now running really, really wide. So we've now got, go into this double right-hander, get a little bit more contact. I think jumping over the curb, that's a lot of contact there, but I think at the moment they've managed to both keep it in a straight line somehow. Not entirely sure how that's went. Fair play to both of them. They're just giving each other, I suppose, a little bit less room than they probably should, but at the same time they're still both pointing in a straight line, so you can't complain with that. And at the moment, the position still stay the same. However, I'm pretty sure that Neil knows that Edmondson wants to get past.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like Edmondson may have the pace on him, but obviously he's got to get in front to use that pace. And the pace is so close, he's finding it difficult, but he's certainly looking at all sides at the moment. He's got the inside now, and he's definitely got that move done, as long as Neil comes back at him on the brakes though, through the midway point of the corner, and manages to get back in front. Very frustrating, I would imagine, for Edmondson. He'll be thinking he pretty much all but had that job done then. He's very tight in the slipstream now, and he's going to try and, I would imagine, look to do it in the pass again as they come back into another braking zone.
Very much so. A textbook switchback from Neil there, capitalising, not getting too caught up in what Edmondson was doing, and really used it to his advantage. But Edmondson now trying to make the move, going down into the first chicane. Seems to have done it, although Neil's still trying to have a sniff around the outside. Doesn't quite work out, so Edmondson now makes the move stick. What he's got to do now is pull away, let Brennan now battle with Neil, who's right on the back. This is going to be a three-way battle, currently for 4th place, and at the moment it's looking very, very close. I feel that we've got 46 seconds left, so there's going to be one more lap after this if my calculations, my maths are correct. This could be very, very interesting, this last lap. Also to note, we've got Marshall that's only a second behind, so if these three hold each other up too much, then Marshall's going to try and make the move, and I'm sure Dave is not going to shy away from a good little battle, especially towards the end of the race.
No, definitely, and the other man to watch is Rob Butler, who's behind Marshall, because he's equally as fast as Marshall and any of those guys in front. He's had some awesome performances and is a previous race winner in the TTs. He won at Brands Hatch. So yeah, definitely quick in the car. So someone's running really wide there. Wasn't quite sure who that was, but just rejoining up ahead there, we see was that Neil that ran really wide.
That was indeed. Unfortunately, that was Neil that's just lost a couple of positions. He's going to lose another one here if he's not careful. And I think side by side going into the last chicane, that was very, very brave from Dave. Tried to make that move stick. Again, like we said, Dave is not going to shy away from a position to be gained if there is an opportunity. Didn't quite work this time though, however. Marshall has, Dave has now got this, he's got the confidence now, probably going to try and make a move. Potentially what he's going to do is use those push to passes. He's actually only got one push to pass left. So that's going to be something that he's going to have to be a bit careful of, because I'm looking at, and Butler behind has got 4 left. So this could play into Butler's hands quite nicely if he can use them at the correct time. However, he's dropped off a little bit. He's 8 tenths currently behind, 9 tenths even. So I don't think these push to passes are really going to help him.
No, definitely not. He's struggling. I mean, I think they're probably all pretty much in the positions they're going to finish in now without any mistakes, because the gaps are as big as they have ever been. And talking of gaps, we've got McIntyre, who's responded, and he's on his last lap. He put in a 54.053, which is the fastest lap of the race, and he's done that pretty much in the dying depths of the race, and he's got 1.8 second lead now over Nola. So I think that's pretty much confirmed the victory for McIntyre if he can just bring it home.
Exactly. Well, I tell you what a stellar drive from McIntyre. We've still got, though, still action happening here. Marshall is not giving up with this 6th position. You've got Neil and Marshall. Currently, Marshall on your screen, the main one that's centered on the view at the moment. He's going to try and dive for the inside. Has a bit of a look. Doesn't actually make the move stick. He's really trying to put Neil in a position where he's got to try and take that defensive line. What you may find is Marshall may try and do the cutback. If Neil's now probably or potentially going to go defensive into this last half of the lap, he might try and go a little bit more defensive. Marshall's maybe pushing him into a mistake. Not entirely sure yet, as we've got Jack in the top right-hand corner of your screen, 1.5 seconds ahead of Jack Nola. 2 more corners left, and then Jack takes the race 1 victory. Again, stellar performance from him, very much so. I think Marshall has dropped off a little bit too much, though, unless he tries to make an absolute banzai move up the inside of the last 2 corners. I feel that this is going to be where everyone stays, unless Neil makes a mistake. He's very close. Unfortunately, Dave has not got any push to passes left. Unfortunately for Neil, he has 1 more left, which he is using now. That was inevitable, and I feel that is the positions coming through. So Jack takes the win ahead of Nola, with Stapleford rounding out the podium. Edmondson 4th, Brennan 5th, Neil 6th, and Dave Marshall salvaging some points there, coming home in P7, with Hayden just behind in P8.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned McIntyre. I called him at the beginning of the race there and said I thought he was favourite to win that. Obviously, Stapleford got his nose out at the beginning and stretched a little bit of a gap, but McIntyre got back at him, and once he got back in front, he was never really challenged again. The surprise for me there was maybe a little bit Marshall, maybe unfair. Maybe I'm being unfair. He's got that 30 kilos of ballast, but I did expect him maybe to be in the top sort of 4, maybe top 5. But he had a really bad start, which is not usual for Dave, it has to be said. But yeah, fantastic racing, didn't disappoint, and that set us up for a good race in race 2 here at Imola.
Very much so. Race 2 is going to be, if race 2 is even half as action-packed as race 1, that's going to be absolutely fantastic to commentate. And that 50 minutes went by so quick. And we have on your screen now the full race classification. So we've got McIntyre, Nola and Stapleford rounding out the podiums. We've got Brennan in 4th, Neil 5th, Hayden 6th, Marshall 7th, Edmondson 8th, Smith 9th, and Butler rounding out the top 10. In P11, we've got Mellors, 12, O'Farrell, Stansfield, Thorne, Sutton, Laramie, and Press rounding out the back of the grid. I'm excited for race 2. I'm sure, Steve, you're going to be excited for race 2 as well, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah, can't wait. I think we've got some interviews waiting in the interview room. I think Robbie Stapleford's in there waiting for a chat at the moment. If you want to nip down, Dan, and have a chat with him.
Yeah, no problem at all. I will nip down there now. But that was a pretty incredible race. What we may do is wait for everyone to pop in, and then I think I'm just having a look. We've got no one actually in the interview booth at the moment. As I say in that, a Jack McIntyre appears. Jack, can you hear me?
Hello.
How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. That was a good race. It was tough. Jack kind of pushed me all the way to the end there, and he's super quick. So yeah, it was a little bit stressful, but managed to bring it home, thankfully.
Well, very much so. I mean, to be fair, firstly I want to say, congratulations on the win. That was a stellar drive from yourself there. What were you? Because I know you dropped a couple of positions at the start of the race. Was there any particular reason for that? Could it be a bit of a poor start, or what really happened at the start there?
Yeah, I didn't really have a great start. I didn't get it hooked up off the line, and then I'm not sure if anyone else used any boosts off the line just to get a good run down into turn 1. I kind of saved mine for the first couple of laps, so It wasn't a great start, so I think that's probably what did it. But I knew that in the long run I could probably pull back a little bit, pull back the gap, because I didn't have any ballast as well. So that's probably where the extra pace has come from. But yeah, just kind of played the long game. I wasn't too unhappy about the start. Getting through turn 1 here cleanly is always a bonus. So just concentrate on that really.
Exactly, yeah. Getting through turn 1 is always going to be that positive. It gives you a bit more confidence as well to know you can push. But I think as well, me and Steve were saying on the when we were commentating, some 2 mega late lunges going through. They were some incredible moves there. Was it calculated, or was it just like, there's a gap, I'll go for it? How did they play out in your head?
A little bit of both, really. I knew I wanted to get ahead early on, because with the ballast-free car, I thought I could drive off a little bit into the distance. So I needed to make some moves, but it was just kind of opportunistic, really. I saw the guys weren't really defending too hard, so I know they're both really respectful racers as well, so I knew I could make a move like that without too much danger. So yeah, just went for it and it came off.
Absolutely, no, great stuff indeed. Really, really good stuff. I believe we've got Stephen here as well. Steve, anything to say to ask Jack?
No, absolutely awesome performance, and as you pointed out there, some great sort of braking manoeuvres there, and great respect from all the lads on the grid. Just interesting, we were talking about how difficult it can be to get these cars hooked up from the start, Jack. So is there will you be doing something slightly different? Will it be different rev range for the second race? Or all the other guys, as I can confirm, do use push to pass pretty much from the line. So do you think you'll be pressing that button and using some of that extra power on the start?
Probably not. Hopefully I'll get it hooked up a little bit better. I think I put a little bit too little revs into it, and then realised, and then put too much into it, so it was a pretty awful start. So I'll just try and balance it out next time, and I think playing the long game again is probably the best strategy around here. It's a tough track to go fast around for the full race. I made a few mistakes in that race and dropped back a bit, so I think the start, especially starting down from 12th, or where the reverse grid starts, I don't think there's too much benefit in trying to go through it through turn 1. So yeah, I played a long game again, try and make up the time in the race.
A great drive, Jack, and it was great to watch, and we're looking forward to the second race, buddy, so good luck for that.
Cheers, chaps. Thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, Jack McIntyre, pretty much as you would expect, very happy with the win in race 1. He will be starting a lot further down the grid this time. We reversed the top 12, so he'll be in 12th position for the start of this race. So he's going to have a little bit more work to do, and it maybe won't be quite so easy if indeed that win was easy.
Well, I think, Jack was saying that Jack Noller pushed him all the way there. To be fair, I think Jack managed it really, really well. I think there was probably, if he'd have really wanted to, I'm sure there was a bit more pace that Jack could have used if he thought that Jack was catching him. And to be fair, towards the latter half of the race, he did start to pull a little bit of a gap there. So there's a lot of pace in that car for Jack McIntyre there. But the race 1 aside, now we've got to work out and see and try and commentate on the amount of action that we had in race 1, trying to commentate on it all over again for race 2. Everyone's on the grid now. Tensions are starting to build. Everyone is getting ready for race 2 of the VRRC TT Cup at Imola. This is round number 4, closing stages of the championship. Lights are coming on, ready for race 2 to get underway, and there they go. A really, really good start for whoever was in 3rd place, and that looks to be an incredible start there.
Looking like Miller's, I believe.
That was yeah, exactly. So pretty even start from the rest of the field. What we can see at the moment doesn't seem to be a really defending move. We've got Butler currently on your screen in the bottom right-hand corner. As we see someone go completely wide. That was how people avoided that. I'm not entirely sure. I don't even know who that was. That looks to be that was Hayden that decided that he wanted to go a little bit of rally crossing going through into turn 1. Really not entirely sure what happened there. As we've just now moved on to the main screens, we've got Stansfield currently leading with Butler, Smith and Hayden in the top 4. Marshall's now up to P5, so he's making some really good progress. But we've just actually, as I say that, he loses position to Neil, so he's now dropped down to 6th. Neil's moved up to 5th. We've got Smith now has currently moved up into 2nd place. Honestly, there's so much action going on already, I can barely keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't really get chance to talk about how the grid played out for this race too. But we have got some very fast guys who maybe didn't have the best first race, who are quite a way up in this grid. So you've got Stansfield, you've got Smith that we talked about, you've got Butler who's quick, you've got Hayden, you've got Neil, you've got Marshall, you've got Edmondson. All those guys are quick guys, and they're all at the front of the pack already. So we've got Stansfield now defending from Smith as they're battling really hard to try and get the win this evening. We're looking at Brennan at the moment, who's battling hard in the mid-pack, trying to catch up with Neil, and he's got Edmondson trying to catch up with him.
Exactly. We're just looking on the timing sheets as well on the left-hand corner of your screen. You've got McIntyre that's dropped down. He's down in P12, so not the best start from him. Hopefully he can find his composure and gain a field position. We see someone go wild at the inside. That was a very, very brave move indeed. Not entirely sure who that was. That may have been Sutton. Unfortunately, didn't work out. He's actually dropped a few more positions back down to P14, unfortunately, so he probably went a little bit too wide going into the last two left-handers. But after lap one, we've got Stansfield, Smith, Butler, Hayden, Neil in P5, Marshall P6, Brendan's just moved up to P7, and as I said, Edmondson has now moved up back in P7, so Brendan's gained that position and then lost that position all in the space of about half a sentence. So yeah, this is just so close at the moment. The gaps at the front are so close. You've got Smith only 3/10, actually less than that probably, between 2/10 and 3/10 behind Stansfield. So this is going to be a battle that's probably going to go all the way to the finish. Butler's in third place, wishing that Stansfield and Smith can battle one another and slow each other up. As I said, that he goes slightly wide. It seems to be commentators' curse. Whoever I speak about and talk about seems to have some moments there.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you say, it's so close. It's anyone's race. Stansfield out in the lead with Smith 3/10 back, Butler 1 second back, Hayden 2/10 back. Neil and Marshall swapping positions as they're going up the hill now. And you've got Edmondson, you've got Brennan. They're all pretty much in close attention. And it's like we always say, one little mistake in this TT race, and you could lose 2, 3, 4 positions even. As we're looking at Marshall just defending from Neil at the moment, and up ahead, it looked like Hayden and Butler were swapping places.
Yeah, there is action absolutely everywhere. It's a struggle. We need another 3 commentators, don't we, Steve? That's probably what's going to benefit us, as we now have got Neil and Marshall still battling out. I think Marshall is trying to defend and make that TT cut as wide as he possibly can. P5 at the moment, as we just got on the left-hand side of your screen now, we can see that Smith has made a move on to Stansfield. So Smith is now currently leading the race. If only a 10th back, though, to be fair. Stansfield's now coming back, as we can see on the timer screen. Smith has now come back. I can barely keep up. This is interesting stuff, and it's only on the Delta. Let us know what's actually going up, as we've got Isaac going ever so slightly wide, so that was the cause of that. And Smith has... sorry, that was Isaac. So he's still below 1.3 seconds now to Stansfield. Not ideal. We've got Butler now has just overtaken Stansfield as well, going down the main straight. Honestly, the action, I just cannot keep up. As we've got on your main screen now, we have got the top 3. So this is Stansfield and Butler going toe to toe, and we've still got 10 minutes left. And we've actually now got Stansfield go slightly wide again, runs into the gravel trap. That's going to slow him down a lot. Hayden's probably going to capitalise on that opportunity as well, as he goes slightly wide. Unfortunately, Hayden's now dropped back, so that was probably a little bit of contact from Stansfield and Hayden there.
We've got Marshall up into third place now, so he benefited from all of that little kerfuffle, as it were, coming into the first corner, and someone in the background's gone very wide as well. Not quite sure who that is, but yeah, Marshall's really benefited from that. Smith out in the lead now by a clear 1.3 seconds. Butler in second place, clear of nearly 2 seconds of Marshall. So that's big impact there. Not quite sure who that was. Is that Stansfield that's gone spinning off, or Stapleford that's gone spinning off and hit the wall very, very hard?
Not entirely sure what happened there. A little bit, a bit too much argy-bargy. I think we had 5 cars trying to go into one gap, which was never going to work. Cracking shot there, watching the cars go through. You can actually see some of them going into that really tight complex, that double right-hander. You can see how some of the guys are actually driving the car. They're really driving it with the rear, trying to make sure that they can get that rear rotation. And then what they'll probably do, I imagine, they'll start getting on the power to then try and neutralise that, and then to bring the car around. It's a really, really good way, and it's also, if you're good at it, it's a really quick way to drive something that's got a lot of weight over the front end, this front-wheel drive, and it's really light at the back. So a great shot. Hopefully we can see a bit more of that, because that's a fantastic shot. You can really see the different driving style as well. As we've got some flashing lights from McIntyre there, trying to make the move on Hayden. He's up to P9, so he's made a couple of positions. Bear in mind, he's got no ballast at the moment, so this is going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a drag race between McIntyre and Hayden going down to turn 1. I feel that Jack's going to have the advantage because he hasn't got a any ballast. He's also still got 12 push to passes left. Hayden has only got 8.
And we've also seen how good Jack is on the brakes as well. So my money's on Jack to get this move done into this corner. And he's got the move done before the corner, and I don't think there's going to be any chance of Hayden coming back at him on the brakes. But yeah, Jack McIntyre, I'm going to put you on the spot now, Dan. How far up the field do you think he'll finish in the next 8 minutes and 40 seconds?
I mean, at the rate that Jack's motoring along now, he's found his composure, he's found some pace, and at the rate the guys are battling ahead, so we've got Neil currently on the screen now, battling with Edmondson. I feel that if Jack can keep everything clean, keep everything tidy, as we're going to go 3 wide, and I'm going to interrupt myself again, going 3 wide, or trying to go 3 wide into the bottom half of the circuit. That was very, very brave there, but everyone giving enough room, giving each other just amount of space, as I say that. Again, commentators curse, it's not putting any favours in for anyone, is it? There's a little bit of contact between Neil and Edmondson there. Edmondson trying to make that car as wide as possible. Sorry, Steve, going back to that question there, I think if McIntyre and if he can really keep clean and make sure that he makes his moves stick and make them clean, I'm probably going to put in and say I think there's a P6, I reckon, in it for McIntyre to say he's just gone up to P7.
He's up to P7 now, so that's, yeah, while you're talking, he's made 2 positions, I think. So, yeah, he's certainly, he's going to get in that top 6, I feel. And I would even say potentially, looking at the gaps between the cars in front of him, I wouldn't put it out of the question to actually get into the top 4.
I was actually going to say, can I retract my previous statement? I said top 6. I feel it's going to be slightly different. He's only 3 tenths behind Brennan. And with the pace that he's got at the moment, and also with the guys that are fighting up ahead, you've got Neil and Brendan still fighting really, really hard. Neil and Emerson fighting really, really hard. I feel that, yeah, there's going to be some more positions in it, providing that, like I said, that Jack can make the moves clearly, can make sure that he makes them stick. What you don't want to do is make the move and then for the move to be hand back on you, so you end up slowing each other down and then losing time to the guys in front. At the moment, though,
well, he's catching Brennan. He's within a tenth now of Brennan. He's going to go on the brakes now into turn 1 again, and I think we've seen that he's pretty adept at making that move stick, and it's looking like he's favourite to do it again on Brennan this time, and indeed he has. He's got that move done, and he's now straight on the back of Edmondson, so who's on the back of Neil. So I mean, realistically, he's got 2 positions in front of him now that they'll be fully in his sights, and he'll be looking at making up more positions very soon.
Exactly, I'm sure he will do. We've got O'Fowler, unfortunately, going very, very wide, going out of turn 3 by the looks of it. A little bit of contact there. I think McIntyre just got caught out. Unfortunately, he's going to lose a couple of positions. As I say that, there's contact all over the place. Everyone sort of was involved a little bit there, I think. No one was left unscathed. And unfortunately, Edmondson was the main, lost out the main one out of the pack there as he dropped down to P8. Unfortunately for him, also to be fair, Neil has now been moved up into P4, Brendan P5, and obviously Jack, from where I said he was going to be, he's already in P6. We've got 6 minutes left, and as you say, Steve, there are some positions left to be made for Jack. I am sure of it. Just looking at Smith, though, I know that we haven't had much coverage for the guys up the front. However, though, the gap from Smith to Butler is about 2 seconds. So realistically, there's not much going on with that.
No, but Smith's last lap was the fastest lap of the race with a 54.9. When you compare that to race 1's fastest lap, which was a 53, they're still pretty much a second off the pace of the first race at the moment. But the man that set that fastest lap in the first race is McIntyre in 6th place, so he's not had any clean air to do that sort of lap time, but he's certainly trying hard. But Smith has, as you say, it's 2.5 seconds back to Butler. Marshall is a further just under 4 seconds back from Butler. So the top 3 is pretty secure at the moment because Neil in 4th place is 1.8 seconds off Marshall. So with 5 minutes to go, we've seen it before that the top 3, if they keep the noses clean, can just bring that home where they are. I think the battle now is really for that 4th position.
Exactly, and there's a couple of battles there, as we've been saying. So yeah, very much so. P4, the battle with P4 is definitely on the cards. We've just currently on board now with Jack McIntyre. This is for P5, so you've got McIntyre and Brennan. I think what you're going to find, again, last of the late breakers, I think Jack has definitely shown himself. Obviously, Brennan's taken a very, very defensive line, which is naturally was always going to do that. Jack tried to look around the outside. Unfortunately, well, he actually backed out of it, which was probably the wisest move, to try and get that cutback. A little bit of contact. I say a little bit of contact. That was a pretty big nerf there from Jack. He's actually lost out a bit to Jack Nolla, who's just appeared out of nowhere and is currently in P7. He's now all over the back of Jack McIntyre. So I think, unfortunately, Jack needed to get by Brennan. He hasn't done, and now Nolla is going to try and get past McIntyre. So that's going to play into it as well. Nolla's just having a little bit of a look. This is on the rear of Brennan's car, and we've just switched now to on the main focus is Jack Nolla. Not too sure how it's going to play out for him. He might try and wait, or he might try and make that move past and try and catch up to Neil. Not entirely sure. I think with the pace that Jack has got, I feel that it's something he's going to want to try and get past both McIntyre and Brennan really, really quickly and try and capitalise on any pace that he has got for the remainder 3 minutes and 50 seconds of this race.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Nola's got a little bit of ballast on there. Nola's carrying around 24 kilos, so, and as McIntyre mentioned in the interview, he's got no ballast whatsoever. So potentially defending against Nola may be a little bit easier for McIntyre. But he's certainly still looking forward, I think, to put a move on Brennan, and he's so much better on the brakes. We can see in the braking zones, McIntyre does really, really close up, and that's what caused that bit of contact on the previous lap, because he just got so much faster run through the chicane, and just unfortunately Brennan didn't quite manage to carry enough speed, and that just caused the contact. But it's not over. McIntyre's closing the gap down again. He's making up the difference, and Nola, I think, he's keeping up with them, but he's not keeping up with him easily. You have to say he's working hard to be there.
He is indeed, yeah. He's really having to work, as Jack has a massive moment. Really well recovered. Unfortunately, he's going to run slightly wide. So as we said, again, Commentators' curse playing its fair share, and now Jack is going to sail up the inside of Jack McIntyre. Unfortunately, that was just probably a little bit deep. You see again a little bit of rear end rotation from Jack McIntyre's car. Then haven't seen that bit uncharacteristic from him in these two races that we've seen. I think, though, at the moment, pace for pace, I think you're right, Steve. Jack probably has the pace advantage on Nola purely because he hasn't got any ballast. As we're now going on your main screen currently, we've got Stapleford now making a move on Hayden. Both of these cars are looking a little bit, they both have seen better days. They're looking very, very battered indeed. But Hayden, unfortunately, has lost out on Stapleford. So Stapleford has made that move. He is now going to try and... So he's already pulled a bit of a gap as we see Hayden going very, very wide. Again, that rear end rotation, that car swapping end, really, really difficult to manage by the looks of it from people. Could be track temps are slightly hotter, which is also why we haven't seen faster lap times. And also as well, if people are using more of their tyres because they're hotter, they're just using that more. This is where we start to see a little bit more action in terms of the rear starting to let go. So it very much looks. So I'm going to say it very looks like Hayden is struggling with rear tyre grip as well. So maybe it is that he's just cut those rear tyres because he drifted through 3 or 4 of those last corners, and obviously that is not the fastest way to go through. Talking about fastest, McIntyre now really looking to try and put a move on Nola. He's still struggling to get past him now after losing out on the previous lap. But Dave Marshall in 3rd place has just put the fastest lap in on his last lap with a 54.6. So Dave Marshall, with all that ballast on board, is still managing to put the fastest laps in at the moment, as we're seeing Jack McIntyre now side by side with Nola, and this seems to be Jack's ace corner, as it were. He always seems to make the pass into this corner, and he's going to get the job done before the braking zone and then just defend it through the corner. Exactly. Jack having... we've got 2 Jacks now, so we've got Nola again having a little... There was a small amount of contact. I think McIntyre just drifted over ever so slightly. Wasn't too bad, though. Jack McIntyre made the move stick. What he needs to do now, head down, try and pull away from Nola. He's got the pace. He pulled up to him and passed him before turn 1. So what he's got to do, he's already pulled a little bit of a gap, maybe about half a car length, which is enough to it's enough to try and deter Nola from making a really late lunge, because he just probably hasn't got the stopping power because he's running a bit of extra ballast. So I think McIntyre needs to just get his head down, crack on, and I believe, unless anything else happens up the road, I think what he needs to do is just settle for 6th position. So I'm not going to retract my last statement. I'm going to stick where it is. You're going to change your mind again because you did retract that statement. I'm holding you to that one, buddy. But no, Rich Smith, he's 8 tenths in the lead, so that gap has come down a little bit, but maybe Rich Smith is managing that gap. Rob Butler in 2nd place, driving a fantastic race with Dave Marshall in a very good 3rd place for his championship, and I believe he's going to bring the championship home this evening with these finishes he's had tonight. We've got Neil in 4th, Brennan 5th, McIntyre in 6th, as you say. Very hard fought 6th position. He's sort of made it a little bit harder work than it maybe needed to be, but he's been pushing 110% for the whole race to try and come through the field, and he's done a fantastic job. He was down in around about 12th or 13th place at one point, so he's come through some very, very quick drivers, and one of those quick drivers is Nola, who's in 7th, but he's just starting to drop off the back of him a little bit. The leader is now starting his final lap, so the timer has run down, so we are on the +1 lap, and that is Smith, who is now only half a second ahead of Butler. So that gap has really come down. Not sure if Butler's got enough pace maybe to try and put a move in on this last lap, but he's within half a second as we're looking at McIntyre and Nola, and McIntyre has lost out to Nola on this occasion. I know the move that Jack McIntyre has pretty much coined at Imola. He's now left the door wide open, and that actually happened to him. So Nolan made a carbon copy of the move that McIntyre has been pretty known for these last 2 races. So this is going to come down to the wire. We've also got Butler, who's got, I was actually going to say that he's now got no push the passes left. So this is now pretty much as they go. So in the top right hand corner of your screen, you've got the leaders, and you've got the battle for the lead. And also this is now the battle for P5. As we've just, sorry, this is the battle for P6. My apologies. We've now got McIntyre that has made the move back on Nola. I feel that if McIntyre can keep his head down and keep cool, he's going to then drive the rest of this race, and he should get P6. I think, though, Smith has just pulled enough of a gap to Butler. The gap's half a second. So, again, unless there's a mistake by Smith, I feel he is going to take the checkered flag here for race 2.
And
still wants to play for them.
Importantly, McIntyre has still got 2 push to passes left, so obviously coming out of the last corner, he's going to be able to activate that push to pass and get that extra drive out the corner and to hopefully keep Nola at bay. So yeah, fantastic tactical race. As we're looking at Smith in the top of your screen now, it's looking like very much he's going to bring it home for the win in race 2. Indeed, Smith is going to bring it home, and Smith takes the win in race 2 from Butler, albeit only by half a second. So we're just waiting for Marshall to come round, who was further 3 seconds down the road for 3rd, Neil in 4th, Brennan in 5th, and McIntyre looking like he's going to claim that 6th place from a hard-fought Nola in 7th.
He does indeed. Apologies, everyone. I had my mic muted. That's why That's why you had a brief pause of thing there. But Steve, thank you for jumping in there. Yeah, honestly, what a fantastic drive from Smith there. I think we've definitely seen the pace that man does have. This is the pace that I've seen him. Obviously, the first round that I was in, I only saw him when he was on a completely alien rig. He was on a screen. He wasn't in VR. And this has just been a very, very commanding race from him. Got a little bit sketchy towards the end, I will admit. However, Smith sort of kept his composure and carried on. So, yeah, fantastic drive from everyone. Again, a little bit of contact. Again, as we said, that is touring cars. That's what they are like. Probably a little bit too much contact and a few incidents. But all in all, again, Steve, and I'm sure you will agree, 2 races, absolutely fantastic racing throughout the field.
Yeah, we've just seen what the TT Cup does round after round. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate on for the 8 races, 4-round championship. It's been fast, it's been frantic, it's been close, it's been respectful. There's been some fantastic drives. There's been some very tactical drives from some of the lads with push to passes, using them when they need to, saving them, and saving a few up for the ends when they don't need to maybe use them so much during the race. We've had several different race winners throughout the championship, the reverse grid working really well, and just getting confirmation on the screen there of McIntyre in 1st, Smith 2nd, Butler 3rd, so that's your 3 podium finishes. Nola 4th, Neil 5th, Marshall 6th, Stapleford 7th, Brennan 8th, Hayden in 9th. Not a bad position that for Hayden. He was higher up the field early on, but he just got caught up in a few battles and came off worst, as we saw. And then Edmondson rounding out the top 10. O'Farrell 11th, Laramie 12th, Sutton 13th, Press 14th, and Stansfield 15th. So yeah, fantastic racing throughout the season. Really, really good close racing. It doesn't seem to matter what track you put these guys on in these cars. It just throws up some good racing.
It does indeed. I'm actually just looking at I believe that the standings that you can see on the screen, they're currently not reflecting of the race 2 because McIntyre was 6th as opposed to
Absolutely,
1st.
Yeah. Well spotted.
That's right. Yeah, not entirely sure. We may get an updated one in a second. But yeah, no, honestly, what a round. Like I said, I was only there for 2 of the. I was only commentating on for 2 of the rounds, and honestly, there is some more action in one, let alone 2 rounds of the championship that we've seen in sometimes a whole season of others. So yeah, it's been absolutely incredible racing. To be honest, one of my personal favourites in terms of how the racing has been. In really short races, the sprint races always add a little bit of. They just add more racing. It's just in most scenarios, not all scenarios, but in most scenarios, there's just better racing in sprint racing because everyone has to try and gain the position at that exact moment in time. There is no sort of thinking about it, or there's very little thinking about it. You have to just be quick on the podium and then off you go. So, yeah, no, honestly, that's been some amazing racing, and it's been a really, really, a massive pleasure to commentate on.
Yeah, there's no time to relax, is there? You can't sit back and you can't be too tactical. You've literally just got to push from the lights out to the flag. You can't rest, and as much as you want to be tactical, you've just got to get past that car in front.
Exactly, yeah. You've got to be so on the ball, and as we have said from Jack, obviously from McIntyre's perspective, he was last of the late breakers. He was the Ricardo of this round in terms of late braking. However, he still left the door open. I don't think he was expecting Nola to come through on the last lap. So, I think again, you can never be too careful, especially with sprint races, and especially a track like Imola, where you've got really heavy braking zones. If you can get that car stuck, you just, as you say, Steve, you just haven't got room to breathe.
No, and also, we've got such a high level of real world and sim drivers on this grid that, when you're starting off in P12 on the reverse grid, as McIntyre was, there's not really many, if any, easy overtakes in the cars in front of you. Everyone is going to battle you very hard for that position. So, you've got to be pretty special to try and get from the 12th up, as high up as you can. And, Jack made it a little bit hard for himself towards the end of the race, but he did very well to get to where he did.
Yes, very much so. We've just been told as well that we do have a few people that we are going to be interviewing. So, Steve, shall we jump over?
Yeah, let's go see who's available for a chat.
Good stuff. We'll be back in a second. Good evening, gents. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. So, honestly, cracking racing for everyone. I think what we're going to do, I believe... Steve, I'll tell you what, I'll let you, if you want to crack, I'll let you leave this one if you want.
Well, no, I mean, it was a fantastic race from everyone involved, and I'm just going to speak to Dave Marshall first, who brought it home in third place. Obviously, a better result in race 2 than race 1, Dave. What was the biggest difference for you, apart from getting on the podium in race 2? What happened in race 1 as well?
Well, I was struggling all the way through quali, really, with consistency with that track, and we got away with a bit of a sluggish start, and then we just seemed to, once we lost one position, we just kept dropping back. I just couldn't seem to get in any sort of the rhythm, and it was very, very choppy race, with cars managing to get past, and then you were getting past, and it was one of them things where any sort of squabble or any sort of time when busy fighting for position, and the group in front of you would just quite simply pull away. So we just lost the front runners and then we're gone. But to be fair, looking at the lap times, they were gone anyway. But yeah, in second race, got away to a bit of a cleaner start and then managed to just get a gap to the pack behind, and then got the head down and brought it away for podium. But it was no catching Isaac and Rob. They were lapping very similar lap times and keeping it clean. So they were well up the road and gone. So yeah, well done to them.
Absolutely, mate. But I think I put the commentator's curse on you in the first race because as the lights were about to go out, I did say, watch Dave Marshall. I've yet to see this guy have a bad start. He always makes positions up into the first corner. And lo and behold, mate, you made me eat my words. It was the opposite tonight.
Watch Dave Marshall go backwards.
But no, good race in race 2. I'm not sure if Dan's got a question for you, but yeah, I just think well done, mate, and well done on the season.
Okay, Steve, thanks.
Very much so. Firstly, Dave, congratulations. Very, very well. Yeah, really well done. Like I said, I was only actually commentated for the first 2 rounds, but for the last 2 rounds. But yeah, honestly, some cracking driving throughout. So very well done there. One thing that I would like to ask you, actually, to be fair, is after the first race, what was your thought process going into the second one? Was it very much did you sort of like try and put it behind you quite quickly, or was it something that sort of, how did you sort of? I think this would also be benefit for people that are watching, for people that do, the sim race as well, is how do you best sort of put a race one, or put a race that wasn't necessarily to your liking or how you wanted to play out? How do you put that behind you and then move forward?
It's probably a bit different in my case with that one. I don't know whether you've told the people watching the stream, but I'm going to currently take over the running of the VRRC championships during the week. So actually, this was the first trial run of a championship that I'm currently running. So this would be the last VRRC championship that I do, provisionally. So yeah, it was actually between that race, I was actually busy dealing with a driver complaint about another driver. So slightly differently preparation from race 2 for me. But yeah, basically it's all about what happened in race 1 is what happens in race 1, and it's about keeping a clear head and getting ready for race 2 and making the best of a situation of where you are on a grid. So looking at drivers around you and being wary that, you know, there's some drivers on the grid that drive more aggression than others, and there's others that'll give you a lot of room. So it's all about calculating how much risk you want to take at the start, and when it's good to just back off and back the bunch up to try and get the best start you can. So I should have probably listened to that in race 1, really.
No, fair enough. No, honestly, Dave, really, really well done. And yeah, we definitely look forward to seeing you on the grid again.
Yeah.
Cheers, Dave. If you just hang around, buddy, in the commentary box once we finish the other 2 interviews, we'll just come to you for a quick chat about future events, if that's okay.
Yeah, no bother at all, Steve. Cheers for that.
Yeah, no worries. So, Rob, second place there, buddy. As I said again when the cars were lining up on the grid, these reverse grids can sometimes throw up some surprises. But for me, having commentated on all 4 rounds, I've sort of got a good idea of who the guys are to watch, and you certainly are one of the guys to watch. So maybe not having such a good race 1 certainly put you towards the front end of the grid in race 2, and you know, you certainly drove hard. Did it all go to plan?
Yeah, I had very limited testing. First time I got on was about an hour before the race. So, look, Isaac was fast. Dave Marshall is always fast behind. But yeah, it went to plan. It was about as good as I could do. I made a few mistakes, which let Isaac get a bit of a gap in the middle of the race after catching back up with him. But yeah, more than happy, and massive congratulations to Dave on running an amazing event along with the guys at VRRC. And for you guys for the stream and the commentary.
It's been an absolute pleasure, the commentating, and I mean that genuinely, because the racing has been so close, it's been so frantic, and I was sort of saying before we came into the interviews, just there's a lot of respect shown out there. There's a little bit of door rubbing, but generally there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of close racing, but most importantly, there's a lot of fast guys on that grid. There's not many easy overtakes to be had out there, is there?
No, absolutely not. When you've got guys like Jack McIntyre, you know, Isaac Smith just came off the back of a mini challenge win on Sunday afternoon at Snetterton in real life. You know, these guys are proper drivers. Dave Marshall's sim racing alien, Jack Noller. All these guys are fast, and to even be running with them at the front is good fun. And yeah, hopefully roll on the next series, and hopefully they'll all be back for some more playtime.
Great stuff, Rob. If I can just ask you though, towards the end of that race, you did pull that gap down very, very quickly, quite significantly in the last few laps. Did you find more pace, or did you find that Isaac had maybe just sort of lost a little bit of pace?
Yeah, I had some boost left. I was only using 1 boost a lap, and I had a couple left towards the end. He made a little mistake. And ran onto the grass, and that closed the gap a little bit and just gave me enough to just get a little bit of a toe and push a little bit harder to try get there. To be honest with you, if I had the speed into qualifying that I had at the end of race 2, we would have been just all right in qualifying and race 1, to be fair. So I was quite pleased overall.
Oh, well, that's it. So well done from me, Rob. Daniel, you know, if you got any questions to add to that?
To be fair, no, but yeah, again, just really, really well done, Rob. Considering, like I said, the minimal practice that you had, no, really, really well done on that on race 2, mate. Really.
Thanks, Daniel. Much appreciated.
No problem at all.
So our race 2 winner, Isaac Smith, back in his native VR, I believe, this week after racing on screen last week. Did that make the difference for you, Isaac? Was it more familiar? You know, was it better for you this evening?
Yeah, of course, it's obviously more familiar. It's familiar for me, but I can't thank Rich enough. I'm using his machinery again, and it is absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's just been a really good race. Rob was pushing me all the way through. Obviously, at mid-race, I really went for the lap time, so I used a lot of boosts, and that ended up hurting me towards the end with the tyres falling off early on. And then him obviously pulling in on the end, I was very worried.
Did you, I'm going to say that the last sort of lap or so, did you actually think that potentially you were going to come under so much pressure from Rob, and were you fairly confident of being able to take the defensive lines and hold him off, you know, in the last sort of half a lap or so, as he was within half a second of you?
Yeah, well, obviously, I know I can keep him behind me. Just obviously, I didn't know how many boosts he had, so it was really trying to gauge where he's going to use it to be able to keep the car in front. This track's extremely boost dependent, so the push to pass really works around here. And yeah, it was a hard race.
Yeah, well, it's a well done from me, Isaac. We've seen some good performances from you throughout the season, so say well done from me. And over to Dan, if you've got any further questions, buddy.
Well, again, I think, Steve, you sort of mentioned everything I was going to say. Again, from me, it's just really well done, Isaac. That was a cracking race too. And yeah, it's really, really good to see, especially, considering the pace that you had last round at Barcelona, even, like I said, outside of VR, outside of sort of what you're used to, and then coming back, and just a really, really dominant race too. So really, really well done.
Thank you.
Great stuff, Isaac. So that concludes the interviews for the podium finishers. But just before Dave Marshall goes back to his office, Dave mentioned that obviously you're now taking over doing the VRRC sort of events, midweek events. Is there any news that you can give us on those, or where we should look out for any news as it comes out?
Yeah, so definitely. The announcement's going to be happening probably within the next week, so keep a lookout on VRRC's Facebook page for the up-and-coming events. The plan is to run a calendar that is, all shown before sign-up, so there'll be probably 5 championships that comes out within the next week, and when sign-ups go live, you can book for whichever championship you want to do, so it's not a case of you have to wait until that championship gets to you. Just feel free to jump on and join the community on VRRC's Discord channel and get taught to the drivers, because it's a really good community to get to know people in here. And as you can see, the standard of driving and also some of the names you might recognise in the chat it's great to talk to the guys. So we'll look forward to it. And if it's anything like the TT's ran, it's definitely positive things to come from that. So.
Great stuff, Dave. It's a great community to be involved with, and I know that there's lots of help at hand for anybody who's either relatively new or new to sim racing or just looking to improve. Obviously, you sign up for these championships, you get access to the servers, you get into Discord, and that's when the lessons really start to come in, because you just talk to these guys, and you talk to the Dave Marshalls and the Isaac Smiths, the race winners, and I'm sure they'll love to point people in the right direction to go in a little bit quicker.
Yeah, so we like to think we provide a really quite a rounded package for anyone who decides to come and join the VRRC community. You've got 1010's coaching, which is myself and Jack, who'll provide coaching through online. So we'll communicate over the headsets and watch the screens of the drivers who are driving on the sims and help with either setups or coaching side of stuff. But we've also got Rich down in HQ, who has, like Isaac is today, down there with Rob and racing on the simulators that he's got down there. So he's got everything from big wide screens to VR and motion sim. So yeah, we've really got things that can basically offer for any sim enthusiast, really. I mean, I don't know many other places where you can go and have 24/7 server setup. So yeah, massive thanks to everyone who's helped set this up, and big thanks to Mike as well for the stream. I know you've done this, for a long time now, but this is really awesome what you're doing so far. So.
Great stuff, Dave. Well, I'm looking forward to watching the new championships as they come out and hit our screens. And as Dave points out there, massive thanks to Mike Yao and Simply Race for providing the broadcasts, which allow myself and Dan to commentate on and interact with you guys at home that are watching. So thank you, everybody. And like I say, we're really looking forward to the new championships coming out. And keep an eye on the VRRC Facebook page, as Dave said. And if you're interested, get signed up. And we look forward to seeing you on the track. Thanks very much, Dave.
Cheers for that, Steve. Cheers, Dan.
Cheers, Dave.
So that about wraps it up, doesn't it, Dan? I mean, final thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's been an incredible 2 rounds. There's definitely been some action-packed stuff, and honestly, I cannot wait for the other championships to start. I really, really can't. And I may even try and get a round in or so if I can as well. So who knows? I'd love to be as much. Don't get me wrong, commentating with yourself, Steve, is is amazing. It's been really, really good fun. Even these last 2 rounds, like I said, I've sort of jumped in the deep end, but you've coached me through it. It's been really, really good, and honestly, I cannot wait for more to for what goes ahead in sort of late 2020, early 2021.
Maybe VRRC should do a commentators championship just for people that have commentated on their races. There's an idea for them.
That's an idea, yeah.
I know you'll beat me, but I don't mind finishing second.
Who knows? You never know.
But no, I mean it's been an absolutely awesome championship, and like I say, I've enjoyed all 4 rounds. So yeah, it's been brilliant. So looking forward to whatever comes next.
Indeed. Well, I think to be fair, I think we've definitely done all the interviews. Everyone's really, really enjoyed themselves. I think we have definitely enjoyed what has been happening for the VRRC, the final round of the TT Cup here at Imola. It's been a fantastic event. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. And I think the only last thing to say to everyone is to make sure you take care and stay safe. See you later, everyone.
Good night.
The inside of coats.
Mark gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.